Yeah. Awesome. Um, Hello guys. Let one last thing, let me unmute everyone because I think I just did that. And okay, Atsumi, you have a question?
I was a mistake. Let me
Mm, I'm sorry, I'm looking for. There's usually a pop-up that comes up when someone wants to join in. I don't want to miss that, and now it's not coming up anyway. Anyways, they'll just text and Slack. Right. So I see some new faces or some new names from what I had from the last section. Uh, Only I think Tega is the name I'm familiar with from the last section. So once again, I'm Oluwatomi Zimbelu, and I'm one of the tutors for the Microsoft Learning Student Ambassador Bootcamp, and I'll be with you talking about cloud and building on cloud. So we'll be talking about the cloud concept today, and I'll do a quick recap of the last section. And we're asking the question, what is cloud computing, right? So cloud computing is a way of designing, planning, and organizing infrastructure and resources on a cloud, and doing all that in a way that it's reliable. So you must be familiar with terms like AWS, Google, Microsoft Azure, Oracle Cloud, um, etc. So the question is, so many big companies, so many names, what do they have in common and what are the differences? So basically AWS and okay, so that's supposed to be Google Cloud, GCP, Microsoft Azure, Oracle Cloud, they all have more or less the same thing they're more or less similar in the sense that they're trying to provide a way for solutions and resources to be easily accessible on the cloud. So I'll get into that. Okay, so it pops up. I'll get more into that during the session. Okay, so the next thing we're talking about is the word resource. So resource is going to be thrown around a lot. Like what we're talking about, oh, what?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Yeah, awesome. So I apologize about the internet. So yeah, we'll be spinning out we'll be making use of the word or the terminology resource, where we talk about, okay, spin up this resource or um, resource. How do I explain this better? Okay, so the word resource is going to be used a lot, and it's simply just talking about the hardware or the solution that you're going to get on your cloud platforms. I don't know. Is anyone familiar with the picture where we have wires and things connected to each other, so many lights? Is anyone familiar with that? Like, have you seen that before? I'd like to know. Yes, so Kodri has seen it. Any other person on the group chat? If you have not seen it, let me just know that you've not seen it with a no. if you've seen it, just reply on the chat with a yes. And okay, so just one person is replying. Ortega has seen it. Okay. So do any of the two guys know like what this is called? Or can I explain a little bit of what's happening in the picture?
I think these are like computers being connected to like servers or something around that kind of terminology.
Okay. You're not too far off. Does any other person want to try? All right. So basically,
Sorry to can I still speak?
yes, you can. You can.
Yeah, so I think I saw it in one organization I visited. So I was asking what it was. So they were just telling me was that they gave me one name. I'm trying to recall the name they gave me, but I just saw the company into software solution. So that was
Yeah.
why I saw it.
All right. So what you're looking at in that picture is a server room. There's a connection of servers, and each of these brackets are called routers, right? So it's used on-premise, like on your premises, if you're trying to provide a way to have to connect so many computers in the office, you get to make use of the routers, right, on site. Like if you look right here at the interconnection of which we have here. So basically, this is what happens in most of the offices without using a cloud, having a cloud platform. So if an office is setting up, it says, okay, we need a server where we store our file. We need a switch, a modem, or a router in which we can connect this department, let's say the HR department, the IT department, the finance department, connect them all together from their system to this switch, and they can each access the servers. Having different privileges and permissions, you get to set this on-prem. So also, I think everyone is familiar with what you have here in the middle here. It's just a laptop. I don't have. So it's a laptop. The reason why I put that out is that so when people see servers, in fact, when I saw a server the first time, I was bombarded at what is this? What am I looking at? Right? What is this supposed to achieve? But it turns out a server is simply just a computer, right? So I saw this on the internet where I don't even know what they call a Raspberry Pi. A Raspberry Pi is a very small device, a small processing unit device, and a company is using only Raspberry Pis, like connection of Raspberry Pis as its server room, and it's so efficient, right? So a server, when you hear word like server, it's not something new. It's just basically a computer, a processing unit, serving files to you, right? So it just has an interface where you can connect to and you can get some files, right? So the switches, the routers are on-prem. IT technicians are going to set all this up for you to have. In fact, the setup, you call an IT technician to set all this up, and they get to do that. Well, now the good thing about the cloud is that you can get all this from the website, and you can connect to them, and you can get these services without having any routers or anything configured on your in the office or on premises. Okay, so other resources so basically the resources on each of the or any cloud platforms are broken down as platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, or software as a service. So I was supposed to have examples. Platform as a service, in the sense that if you're a developer and you want to deploy your application, you need a platform to deploy your application. If you're a C++ developer, you need a platform of where there's a Windows configuration where you can deploy, or if you're a developer, you need a Microsoft configuration and Windows configuration where you can deploy your application. If you're a JavaScript developer, you need a Node.js kind of installed on a server somewhere or on your system to deploy an application. So these companies, Microsoft, Google, GCP, they come to offer you that they have a platform as a service on their cloud. They want you to use it, right? So that's what platform as a service is you trying to get a platform and they have it as a service. They want you to use it, right? Also, they don't want you to spend so many money. So there's a competition around that also. So when you talk about infrastructure as a service, we start going to the nitty and gritty of networking. Like earlier, when we looked at this, having the interconnections of all these computers, then all of them access to the internet is called an infrastructure, right? So the way of splitting the departments in a company or in an office to the HR department having their own personal computer connecting to a network, they can directly connect to a cloud network, right? So having a virtual private cloud, you get to learn about that later, which is a VPC, a subnet, and all that. That's where infrastructure as a service comes. So this company offer infrastructure as service, in which you can then utilize. Then we now have the software as a service. So if we're talking about software as a service, we're talking about just accessing the software and making use of it. Like you have the big data analytics where you go to should I say Microsoft AWS. I think they have a service like that, which is big data, where you don't have to set anything up. You don't have to install Python. You don't have to install whatever tool you need. You just go there and make use of the software as it is on the platform. Same thing with some IoT projects and all, right? So there's a layer to this, and I really wish I had time to prepare my slides better, but it's like a pyramid. There's a pyramid kind of layer where the infrastructure as a service comes at the bottom, because definitely you need an infrastructure to be set up before you have anything. Then the platform as a service comes right on top of the infrastructure as a service, because then you have an infrastructure, you have the networking, you have the connections of computers. Now you need a platform where you say, okay, how do I deploy my application on a server, right? So you want a platform where if you're a Python developer or a Java developer, you want a server that already has the configuration of platform installed, a server that already has the configuration of Node.js or JavaScript installed. Okay, on top of that is the software as services, software as a service, where the software has actually been built already for you. So you're not, again, you get that service on top of that. So that's the hierarchy of how these services are broken down. And if you go to any of the platforms which you have access to, you will see that there are so many services, but each of these services can be broken down to easily under this subsections of platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and software as a service. So now, what are the benefits of cloud computing? Like, why are we here? Like, yes, that's a question. Why are we here? Why are you here? Why am I here? Why is everyone buzzing around moving to the cloud, right? So, first, let me talk about what I have on my slide here. scalability and elasticity, right? So it turns out that when you a IT company, like let's say a startup, most developers put their servers on their laptop. That's then before cloud computing came about, servers were very expensive, unlike a laptop. And basically do the same thing, but a server is just more high-end in terms of hardware, processing unit, the hard disk it can contain. So some startups like, okay, let me say like myself, I cannot afford a server, right? And I have just my computer machine. I know I can network this and deploy it on the internet. So you see instances where people will just plug in their system to the internet, deploy an application, and they will tell you, you can find the meme, they will tell you, don't turn off that computer. Please. Like there are memes like that where there used to happen that people deploy applications on their personal or a different laptop and network it to the internet, but you must not turn off that computer, because the moment you turn off your computer, the moment your website goes down, right? So scalability in the sense that as a startup, let's say you start having more users or you start having more traffic on a particular website, you will definitely need a more hardware costs. You will need more CPU processing power, or you need more storage, right? So how do you go about that? How do you handle that scalability, right? So in a company that already has server rooms, they get to buy new servers. In some companies, they get to change the hard disks, or they know very well about the hardware, get to change processing units. So many ways to go about it. And that's how it's done earlier. But then cloud computing comes and tells you that, okay, you can actually configure your websites once you deploy in the cloud and tell it, once a particular traffic is exceeded a particular number, it should probably provision a new computer resource for you. Or you can also, the word elasticity means it can find a way to either provision your computer resources to be higher or to be lower. So in the sense that you don't get to under provision or over provision. What do I mean? So yes, you're a startup, right? A startup can be, and let's say you have so much money, you have a new venture capital and you have funds, but then okay, you decide that, okay, so I have money, let's just buy a big router in the company, connect everybody to that router, deploy on that particular server. So yeah, we'll know that by standard. But then if okay, cool. If we check everything on the back end, we see that most of your traffic is just not up to what you actually have on ground. So you are over provisioning, right? You have little traffic, but then the resource you have is so large that most of it is not used, and the cost is also high. So cloud computing helps us to save that, to be scalable and also to be elastic, right? And also we can provision down or provision high depending on the we have. So also there's the high availability and the resilience. So high availability in the sense that you can easily deploy your application in or different parts of the world. You can be in Nigeria and Google Cloud will have a server in the UK, and you can deploy on that server, and you get to reach out to should I say, you get to reach out to internet users in the UK, right? So you are able to provide that kind of high availability. So there are ways that you have to follow some compliance laws and all. And yeah, that's how it goes. And resilience. So when you're a cloud engineer, you want to create systems that are easy to recover from disaster. Like what happens if, okay, let's assume in Nigeria you have a power outage and all your server room just goes off. how do you handle that? It's a big problem in the big IT companies, but this cloud platforms like Microsoft, Google, since the professionals, they found way to be easily to easily solve that problem. Also, they have data centers in different regions, and they have them connected in such a way that once a data center goes down, like in terms of power outage, they can easily route the traffic and nothing happens. Like your data is still safe, is easily recovered, and you have the easily set that from maybe your app and your company going pretty good. So resilience, you get to talk about data centers, application zones, regions, and how to provision your resources, particular regions at the same time, right? So also you have easy provision of resource. You don't have a server, you don't have the money to get a server. Okay, come to the Microsoft Cloud. Come to the Microsoft Azure, and you get a resource, and you just have to pay as you same pay, meaning something like depending on on how you use the resource, that's how you get charged. You don't just go and have a cost, a big cost to just buy a server, and you don't get to use the resource. So another benefit is less technicians on site. So moving from cloud computing, you get to have less people in the office. You get to have less IT technicians in the office. No one is putting the IT server to just plug and remove a router, right? So that helps a lot, right? So the cloud computing economies, like I talked earlier, is the right size infrastructure, right? I talked previously about over provisioning and over provisioning. So the economics of things has to make sure that you get the particular resource that you can use. You don't go above it and you don't go below it. So you get the right infrastructure for the task you want to achieve, right? So there's also the automation of things. So the automation of things in the sense that you can automate on a cloud platform to either downsize or to increase the size of your cloud resource. And there's also the reduced compliance scope. When the reduced compliance scope in the sense that without the cloud platforms, if you were to go to the UK to have your website in the UK, you would have to go through so many laws and regulations. But with the cloud platforms, you can easily go through them, but then you have easy access to it. So that's the economics of things in terms of the money you get to pay, and in terms of the cost of setup. And oh, time moves so fast. Okay, yes. So basically, that's all about the cloud concepts. The basic thing you need to know about cloud concept. And in the next section, let me see what we have. So we're talking about security and compliance. Am I the only one that feels cloud computing is a lot of talk? You want to get your hand dirty, because I really want to start getting my hand dirty, and that's still in week 3. Right, so that's a little bit far. All right. So I'll talk to the tutors and we'll see how we come about that. So on the side note, has anyone been able to try and get a cloud platform that they would like to work on? Like, are you able to open a AWS account, an Azure account, an Oracle Cloud account, any of those platforms? Let me know which one you'll be working with. In fact,